Alright, so today we're going to talk about factoring. It's one of the most important skills that you'll learn in algebra because you apply it in various other math classes as you go through your math career. So, factoring is pretty much the opposite of the distributive property. So, for example, the distributive property would be something where you have a parentheses b plus c. You would take what's on the outside, the multiplication part, and multiply it to the inside. So you would have a distributes to b, and then a also distributes to c. So you have ab plus ac. But with factoring, you're going to start with ab plus ac and work backwards. So you're looking at both terms, at all the terms, to see what they have in common. So in this case, you have two terms. They both have a in common. So that means you can factor out a, leaving you with b plus c. So what you're really doing is figuring out what's in common, and you're dividing it out. So with ab plus ac, they both have a, so you divide out a. So ab divided by a gives you b, ac divided by a, the a's cancel out, leaving you with c. Alright, so the first method that we're going to learn is called the greatest common factor method. So with this one, you're basically pulling out the greatest thing in common with all the terms. So, for example, if you have 12x to the fourth minus 8x cubed y. So you're looking at, in this case, both of these terms. The first one, 12x4. The next one, negative 8x cubed y, and seeing what they both have that's in common. So with the coefficients 12 and negative 8, the greatest thing that you can divide out of both 12 and 8 is going to be a 4. And then you would go and deal with the letters. So with the variables, the first one we have x fourth, the second one we have x cubed. So that means at most, you can take out 3 of them. You can take out 3 of those x's. So you would have x cubed. And then you would go through with each term and divide out what you took. So you have 12 divided by 4, and that gives you the 3 that's inside the parentheses. You had x4, you took out 3 of them, so that means you got an x left over. Remember, when you're dividing, you subtract the exponents. And then there's nothing left here, so move on to the next one. Negative 8 divided by 4, that's negative 2. You had x cubed, you took out all 3 of them, so you don't have an x anymore. You had a y, you didn't do anything with it, so it just comes over. So another way you can think about the variables is x to the fourth means there's 4 of those little x's. X cubed means there's 3 of them. So you're trying to figure out what's the greatest that you can take away from both terms. So the first one has 4, the second one has 3. So obviously you can only take away 3 of them at most. You can't take out more than that because the second piece only has 3. So that's why you have x cubed on the outside. See how there's an x left over with the first piece? That's that x that's left on that side. There's no x's left with the second one, so there's no x's here. Alright, so another way to think about this is you're taking what you have and dividing out what's in common. So you had at first 12x fourth, divided out the piece in common, 4x cubed. 12 divided by 4 is 3. x4 over x3, reduce them, so you get x left over. That's where that 3x came from. And then the second piece, divided again. So negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. The x cubed, they cancel out, leaving you with a y left over. That's where that comes from. Alright, so let's try another one. So we have 28x6 y fourth plus 3x y squared. So you're looking at both 28 and 3. You're trying to see what you can divide both of those by. The greatest thing you can divide 28 and 3 by is 1. So you don't do anything with that. But with the x's, the first one has 6 of them, the second one only has 1. So therefore, the greatest thing you can take out is 1x. And then move on to the next letter, the y variables. The first one has 4 of them, the second one has 2. So that means the most that you can take out of both at the same time is y squared, 2 of them. So then parentheses, you're going to go through and put down what's left over. So 28 divided by 1 is still 28. You have x6. You took out one of them, so that leaves you with one left over. You have y4. You took out 2. That means you got 2 left. And then the next one, 3 divided by 1 is 3. You had an x. You took an x out, so you don't have an x anymore. You have y squared. You took out y squared, so that means the y's are gone. Close your parentheses. Alright, so next one. You got 2x plus 6xy minus 24x squared y 6. So this time there are 3 terms. So terms are separated by plus and minus sign. So the first term is 2x, second term is 6xy, last term is negative 24x squared y 6. So you look at all 3 of these to see what's in common. So start with the coefficients. So 2, 6, and negative 24. So the greatest thing that you can take away that you can divide out of all 3 of those is a 2. They all have at most 2 in common that you can divide out. Alright, so now look at all your letters. The first one has x1, second one has x1, last one has x squared. So that means at most you can take out x to the first power. And then with the y's, even though the second 2 has y's, the first one doesn't. So that means you can't take out the y. It has to be in common with all 3 terms. If only 2 of them has it, you can't do anything with it. So close your parentheses, or open up your parentheses. Now you're going to take each one of these 3 terms and divide it by 2x. So 2x divided by 2x, that's 1, because 2 divided by 2 is 1. You have an x, you took it out, you don't have an x anymore. The next one, 6 divided by 2 is 3, positive 3, so make sure you put a plus sign, 3. You have an x, you took it out, you don't have an x anymore, but you still have your y. The last one, negative 24 divided by 2 is negative 12. You had an x, or you have x squared. You took out one of them. That means you got an x left over. You have y6. You didn't touch any y's, so you have y6 left over. And this is your answer. Alright, so we'll do the next one up top right here. 24x8 minus 16x fourth. So you're looking at both 24 and 16 to see what's in common. The greatest thing you can divide out of both 24 and 16, that's going to be 8. With the x's, you have 8 here, you got 4 there. That means you can take out at most 4, so x fourth. So 8x fourth is what's in common with 24x eighth and negative 16x fourth. So 24 divided by 8, that's 3. You have x8, you took out 4 of them, that means you got 4 left over. Now you have negative 16 divided by 8, that's negative 2. You have x fourth, you took out the x fourth, you divided it out, so there's no more x's. Close it off. So now we got one more to do. Let's do it down here. Alright, so let's say we have all of this. 12x6 y cubed plus 6x cubed y 7th minus 3x squared y 5th. So start with the coefficients, 12, 6, and negative 3. The greatest thing in common with all 3 of those, you can divide all 3 of those numbers by 3. So then look at your letters. You have x6, x cubed, x squared. So at most you can take out x squared. And then with the y's, y cubed, y7, y 5th. So at most you can take out 3 of them, y cubed. You can't take out more than what the smallest number is. Alright, so if you try to take out y 4th, the last one doesn't, or the first one doesn't have 4 y's, so you can't take out more than what the smallest number is, or what the smallest exponent is. So parentheses. Now we're going to go through and divide them. So 12 divided by 3 gives you 4. With the x's, you have x6. You divided out x squared. So that means you have x fourth left over. And then with the y's, they're gone because you had y cubed. You took out all 3. So there's no more y's left for this first part. The next part, 6 divided by 3 is 2. X cubed divided by the x here, x squared there would be x, and then y 7th. you're taking out y cubed, so that means there are 4 left over. And the last one, 6 divided by 3 is, or I'm sorry, negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. X squared, you take it out. There's no more x's. With the y's, you have 5. You take out 3. That means there are 2 left over. Close it off. Alright, so we'll end this one here. We'll start with the next method of factoring on the next slide, the next video.